time that we admit that feminists make actually better partners for men than traditional wives. Welcome to my channel, and let's have a little chat. There are countless men throughout the internet, throughout real life, who are constantly blaming feminism for the downfall of women. Women don't want to be traditional wives anymore. They want to be at a job. They want to have respect. They want men who have emotional intelligence. All of the things that require men to do better, they blame that on feminism. And since men don't want to do better, they say feminism is the problem with women. More women want more things, and they are expecting men to actually listen to them. And men don't want to do that. But despite the fact that men don't want to do that, men still want what? Women. And they often want the more difficult women to get. They want the women who actually want careers above family. They want the women who actually have made certain boundaries in their lives that say and require for a partner to be more than just, well, male. So men have a problem with that because ultimately what it's requiring of them is, well, something more than just being male. And men think that being male is all that you need. They're the protectors and the providers. But in current times, the only thing that women need protecting from is, well, men. And the only thing that men provide are, well, headaches. Men are never expected to be a woman's piece. In reality, whenever a woman is trying to be a man's piece, he is the least peaceful person in her life. So why bother? And that's why feminists actually are better partners for most men, because they actually believe that men can do better. They actually want men to be accountable for themselves. They want men to grow beyond the limitations that manhood, the manhood that patriarchy has defined for them, has given them. Feminists actually can give men a place to have emotions, to have a voice, to be listened to. Traditional wives don't really want that. But men want to pretend that they do. Men don't actually want to be vulnerable with someone. They want to pretend that they're vulnerable through coercion and dominance. And that's not vulnerability. They think being vulnerable is coming home and ignoring their family while they play video games after work. While women after work are supposed to take on the not only the brunt of the household work, but also the emotional labor and the emotional and mental labor that comes with most relationships with men. So where's the payoff? Why is it that men don't want the accountability for their own emotions, but then they say they don't have space to emote? Men are the ones who put the limitations on themselves. Feminists are saying there are no limitations. Your weaponized incompetence is not really a thing. Do better. And that's why men need feminists. Most relationships where men are ready to deconstruct their own internalized misogyny, their own internalized patriarchy, and they have a feminist partner who helped them see that you can do better, you can do more than what society has told you your limitations were, they thrive. But of course, it takes a man willing to open himself up, willing to make the efforts. So personal limitations for what manhood means to him. Because ultimately, a lot of men who have issues with feminists, the ones who are like, feminists are the problem with women. Feminism is the reason why women don't want to cook and clean for them anymore. Not men. Men are the reason that women do not want these traditional roles. Men are the reason that feminism was needed, because men in their misogyny took advantage of women being in vulnerable positions financially, emotionally, and physically. Feminism is saying that we no longer want to be in vulnerable positions for men to control every aspect of a woman's life, be it her body, her emotional well-being, her financial well-being, or anything else. It doesn't mean that we don't want a man to open a door for us. Well, some people. But ultimately, what it means is that men are accountable. just as much as women are. Feminism is not saying that women want to be men. It's saying men can be better men, and that men cannot define what womanhood is any longer. And that is what feminism does. Traditional wives is all about a man. It's all about servitude. It's all about a woman's labor that generally does not have the same value as a man's labor. Ultimately, men want to continue to devalue women's labor and effort in every aspect of a relationship while only having to pay bills and go to a job, and women having to carry the brunt of everything else. Feminism tells men you can do more. You can do better, and you can be a better man in your relationship. And that is what a feminist woman requires. It requires a man to evolve. It requires a man to evolve past the idea that all he is a provider. And so many men keep saying that that's what they want, but they don't want it at the expense of actually having to do the work. They still want women to do the work for them. And a lot of times when women who are feminists are in relationships with men, they require more of their men emotionally and supporting the entire being of what it is to be in a relationship. Men have never had to do that. And they can't understand why a woman might want that from anybody, let alone a man. Let alone the man that she's sleeping with, let alone the man that she had children with, let alone a man that she is trying to share a life with. They made these rules. They created patriarchy and what manhood and womanhood was supposed to be defined as. But in reality, the man, nobody, it served nobody. The unequal weight of what women was doing versus what the static things that men do. Men's roles were always static. Women's roles were always increasing, especially if they had more children. The more children that a woman had, that became more work, unless she could divide the work amongst her children, which isn't really a thing anymore, because children have school and children have other things that they need to do to accomplish themselves. And that's why so many of us who grew up in families like that felt lacking from our parents, felt lacking from so many aspects of what we wanted as children or what we needed as children, because our mothers weren't able to do everything. So she had to spread the work around the children while the husband only had to, well, go to work and bring home a paycheck. Some women even paid the bills. He just, gave her the money to do so. And of course, as time has progressed and women became financially secure and did not need men to live, basically, they started requiring more. That is why if men want to have women, if incels don't want to be incels anymore, it's time to embrace a feminist woman. It's time to embrace feminist ideals and look at feminism as a way to evolve. As men are trying to deconstruct what they need, instead of acting like babies and crying on the internet, why don't you listen to women? Did you know that feminists don't hate men? They actually love them. And they love them enough to say, you can do better. You have the ability to grow as a human. You have the ability to emote. You are in a safe place, men, with a feminist woman, because she knows that men have emotions and she's allowing that space for you. But men don't want to allow that space for themselves. That's not women. That's men. And that's men actually male focused and actually trying to appeal to other men. The idea of a man being vulnerable with a woman is actually scary for men to other men because they're scared of what that man is going to think of them. Women, however, especially feminist women, don't mind a man who has emotions. We know that we all have them and we all have to express them, but it's also how you express them. Are you emotionally mature enough to have a conversation about your emotions or your needs in a relationship? Or are you just going to pout like a baby and suffer in silence? Those are the things that men do not want to deal with feminist women. They don't want to have to address their emotional and mental states of mind and actually be accountable for the things they need to do and change in a relationship or within themselves. And feminism and a feminist woman requires men to do that. And they require that because we know that you can. And unfortunately, a lot of men don't want to do that. So more men stop demonizing feminism as the reason why they're not getting what they want and look at what women are saying. It's more likely if they start deconstructing the things that they need to deconstruct, they will find more women who are interested in them and more feminist women who can bring the idea of evolving men emotionally. And it's time for men to accept that feminist women are a safe place for them. Feminist women are the place that's going to allow a man to say, I have emotions, and to be vulnerable. Traditional women don't want that. They don't want to hear about it. Pay for the things, give me my life, and shut the fuck up. That's your traditional wife. But men want the idea of submission. That idea of submission makes them feel like they are safe. Having dominance makes them feel like they are safe. That's not a man who has deconstructed the patriarchal mindset and misogyny in his life. And feminists won't have that. A feminist woman doesn't want to see a grown man have a tantrum. Grown men having tantrums and women pretending and searching for how to fix him, how to make him feel better. Let me serve you some more because your emotional state is that of a toddler. So let me give you a little sweets. That's not really addressing the issue. The surface and superficiality of most men in their relationship is always on display when they attack the ideas of a feminist woman. If men are saying feminism is the problem with women, it's because they're superficial and they don't want to deconstruct. They don't want to understand why they have not given themselves space for having emotions or for having vulnerability in a relationship. They only equate sexual actions with emotional release and vulnerability. And most women do not see that as their place for emotions. And that's why, and generally speaking, more women have more intimate relationships with their girlfriends than they do with their partners, because that is their safe space where they can allow themselves to emote. Coming home and crying on your man's shoulder because you had a bad day and blah, blah, blah. But a man who's not listening, who hasn't listened to anything that you actually said, it's like, okay, I'm hugging you while you're crying and that should be enough. He doesn't care. He is not addressing the real issue. Maybe even trying to do things to pay attention to make a woman feel better. A feminist woman is going to require you to listen. Men have a problem with listening. They have a problem with listening to women in general, let alone the women in their lives. Instead of feminism, they want women to embrace religious ideals. They want women to embrace the idea that the Bible, which is a patriarchal document that requires women to be in servitude and to be basically enslaved to a man. They want them to follow that as their ideology for womanhood. The only reason the Bible has any sort of relevance in our world is because of patriarchy, men, and supremacy culture. And that is the document, that is the thing, that's the textbook that they are wanting women to continue to follow. And we see that more and more in our politics. We see that more and more in the type of content that men create. Even if they say they're not religious, they want these ideas that religion gives them because it gives men and patriarchy power. And of course it does, because they wrote the book. Guys, I really think that as we are navigating our dating lives, if you're a traditional woman versus a feminist and you have a different idea, please tell me in the comments. But I'm gonna get out of here because it looks like it might start raining. So ciao for now.